What's up, guys? It's James back again. I know it's been a minute since we put up some content, but I have some great news, fantastic news today that you guys honestly may not have heard because it was a bit of a secret kept that there was an Ultimate Time Wizard tournament this weekend. And it was for the remote YCS. There was not an in-person tournament, but this was played with your webcam, just like they did during COVID. But I got wind that they would be doing an Ultimate Time Wizard and with the same prizing as usual, a giant card, and I wanted to play it. And it just so happened that this was actually for a giant rescue cat, which is very fitting because I just rescued this cute little cat myself. She's adorable and my new friend. But so I thought it was very likely that I would win this tournament. The cat's gotta go. And I did. And so I played Vayu, and I figure let's get right into the deck. I figure also I can give some more detailed explanations. Like the list is pretty standard, but maybe this can be a little helpful if you're like a mid-level Vayu player and you're looking to kind of like get some more nuanced ideas about the deck. But yeah, I can talk about my tournament as I go, and let's just focus. Okay, so I'm going to record this just the same way I played this remote duel all weekend. It's kind of funny, but I feel like it was fitting. And also definitely bears mentioning this was a 35-person tournament. I just played Vayu. There's also a longer video, a live stream I did on the channel pretty shortly after I won that is going to have some more in-depth thoughts. So, I mean, if you really want to know more about the deck, I was also just watching some gameplay, but check that out as well. But like I said, I'll try to I don't really want to dwell on like the relatively standard ratios that I'm playing. I do think, the reason I ended up playing Vayu this weekend, I've been playing fairies and like dream frogs and other decks. Obviously I can play Vayu pretty well, and I had been losing to other people playing Vayu and just felt like, if they can do it, why can't I? And just like if I'm dedicating my whole weekend to playing a tournament, I just really want to give myself the best chance at topping. That's kind of how I did it in Atlanta when I did that GOAT tournament. There's a video on the channel about that. Just played a standard list, piloted it well, and that'll do you well. I mean, if inspiration strikes and I can come up with a new, cool, innovative deck, then awesome. But until then, we're stuck with Vayu, I guess. But yeah, I played one hamster, not two. I've liked two in the past, but I'll explain that more as I go because it also gets into my side plan, which is like maybe a little interesting. I played double Caius. I mean, this is all, the good one-ofs. Gores, I feel like is a little bit more of a flex slot than people give it credit. I don't really like Gores very much. I find, you can draw it after you've already taken a lot of damage, or they have a big board that doesn't care about it. You have to draw past in sometimes awkward situations just to play into it, and sometimes that's really easy to read if people know what they're doing, especially really good players on ladder or whatever. You can go Greffer and then you summon your Armed Wing or whatever, and if you just attack with the Greffer, a lot of people are waiting, to drop the Gores on the 23, and it's not like that's a misplay, that's just trying to get good value out of it, and almost everyone attacks there. But a thing that I do to play around Gores is sometimes you just hit with the Greffer, and then you can just kind of tell that they're very caught off guard. Then next turn you're hitting for another thing, maybe they're inclined to drop it on there. You can really mitigate the power of Gores, I think, if you know how to play correctly. But at the same time, this is an IRL tournament, and I think people play a little sloppier than what I'm used to playing on, grinding ladder or whatever. So in that sense, I thought Gores would be good to punish, and Gores was good. I wouldn't say it super overperformed, but it did help me win a couple matches, so definitely pretty strong. Dark Armed, I won the top 4 and the finals basically off Dark Armed. Yeah, Dark Armed's crazy. I do play Charge. It's a little better going second than Hamster, I think, on average, and also just if you're combining it with any of these other power spells, can really help turbo through your deck in the case of these, or just set you up really well if you hit a piece and you're holding Burial and any of the Millers. It just really makes your Armageddon Knights good value if you're able to hit any piece off this, and can kind of get you out of the early game a lot easier. Yeah, just going second, and against things like Monarchs or Light Scorns, Hamster's not as good. It's also random stuff like GBs or Flamvell. And then just, other generically good cards, not really much needs to be said. I promise there will be some interesting stuff, I guess. I play more just kind of generic removal. 2-2 felt good to me. I like triple D prison, I guess. Like sometimes it can feel kind of nice in the mirror, maybe against Blackwings or GBs or something. But I really do feel like you clog drawing multiples. Like you're already playing Mirror Force, so you're basically playing like 3 copies of the same card, and you could sort of consider these even more. So you don't really want to draw like the best hands you draw are when you're like full gas, like mostly monsters, Greffer and stuff like that. So you really just want like 1 or 2 traps to protect your setup. These are like the super broken ones. Return also helped me win in the finals. Dust shoot at people a couple times. Lost to dust shoot a couple times. I lost round 1 to dust shoot and deck dev in a Vayu mirror. I played a lot of Vayu mirrors overall this event. 5 in total. It was 9 rounds, 6 rounds of Swiss, and then 3 in Top Cut and 5 Vayu. There were 3 like hero beat, 1 DB beat, 2 stun, and light sworn deck. So those were my matchups, and definitely built with Vayu in mind. So the fact that I guess it paid off, or I got lucky or something. But there were a lot of Vayu in this tournament. Solemn, was super clutch for me all tournament. I don't think you should cut Solemn. It is a good card. It helped me a lot this tournament, just to clinch games, and you can negate deck dev, which is quickly becoming like the card of the format. Although I gotta say, like, I definitely had one game where I turn 1 Greffer armed wing, deck dev'd a guy, and it ripped his hand, and I was able to like use that knowledge and basically kill him over the next couple turns. But I only really drew it game 1, I think maybe 1 or 2 other times beyond that. So I as much as I would love to sit here and be like, yeah, like maining 2 deck dev was like the crucial call that like put my deck over the edge and above everybody else's, like that just really wasn't the case in practice. Like deck dev is very good, and really the thing about it is, for me, and why I ended up meaning that and over the oppression, that's really like what usually would be in that last slot. It's better in the mirror. Both oppression and deck dev are relatively bad against Blackwing and the mirror, but I think people are realizing deck dev is still okay against Blackwing. Still probably better than oppression, I would say, I guess. And so yeah, it's really just like optimizing for the mirror. I didn't want any dead cards, especially going second. You're stuck with the oppression, you're staring down at Raiko, like what are you gonna do? I feel like you really need like all your cards to do something in those types of matchups. So yeah, deck dev just seems like a worthwhile hedge. Obviously it rips frogs and a bunch of tier 2 decks, but yeah, no deck enjoys getting deck devs, and I keep playing decks that lose to deck dev, and then they draw the deck dev, and I act like I'm surprised, but I can't be. This is super standard. I actually had one game where I used all 5 of these, which very rarely comes up. I guess maybe an argument to playing another copy of Armed Wing. I think I don't remember if I used Armory, but I used like almost everything else, I would say. Maybe not Chimera Tech either, but I didn't play any Machina. Yeah, that's all super normal. And I don't really think I would play the other Armory or Armed Wing. I like Chimera because I am side decking Cyber Dragon. And I mean, we can touch a little bit on the side plans and stuff too. But yeah, I mean, Machina is rising in popularity from my perspective, and is a hard matchup for Vayu. So definitely like 2, and it's really good against GBs and Hero Beat as well. Just a versatile card. I don't really know why it ever fell out of favor. Double Crow. I think Crow is like the most important card in the Vayu mirror. There's more impactful stuff like Kaiku or Minecon that you could play. And I mean, I do play Minecon, but I just think like Crow's a consistently good defensive card and interacts with their pushes in ways that your other defensive cards don't. Like through removal, obviously, but also can prevent a Dark Arm from dropping, and just a nice card, and obviously has the synergy like being a dark and all that. I played Double Fiend. I mean, I only played against the Lightsworn guy that I sided in against. I didn't play any frogs in this tournament, so Fiend didn't come in, but I am a pretty staunch believer that Fiend is better than Dyna, especially in matchups like Lightsworn. It's just, their entire deck walks over a Dyna. You wouldn't really want to side Dyna in there, but Fiend can just really give you some auto wins, and that deck is super scary in my opinion. But yeah, in that longer video, like I said, I maybe give a longer explanation of Fiend, or you can read some of my Discord posts or something. I've talked about it many times before. Dyna's maybe better against Amaryllis, but I didn't play any, and I think maybe even to that, even in that way, I don't really know. Like Fiend is still pretty good against Amaryllis too, but it's kind of just like Amaryllis versus Lightsworn, or what you think is going to be more popular. So maybe one interesting thing about my deck, because I know you're bored up to this point, is I sided the second hamster, and this is an idea I kind of stole from OG Gary Yu. He used a sided charge of the Light Brigade at the RBT Maryland that he won a couple months ago, and I thought that was an interesting idea. And his explanation just being like, yeah, like matchups where you can't guarantee the hamster to flip, or you want the speed of charge, and to me that's really matchups like Lightsworn, and charge is just like overall not a bad card in any matchup. That's not really how like the card works. It's like, yeah, maybe you can mill an important, like in stun matchups, if you mill your Storm or something like that, it kind of sucks. But for the most part, it's just a fourth copy of Raikou that also has synergy with your engine. Whereas like Hamster has like definitely like positives and negatives in different matchups. Specifically, yeah, like GB, Flamvel. There's ways to exploit defense mode hamsters, even if it is really, really good going first in like the vast majority of matchups. Like it is just better to resolve a hamster than it is a Raikou. So in some sense, like hamsters were powerful, but I would end up just boarding it in when I went first against the matchups that like couldn't punish it, But yeah, it's not so good against frogs either, depending on, what your side plan is or what exact build they're on. So this was interesting to me. Again, I can't say that was some like game-breaking idea that I feel like really served me well, but I definitely did side in the hamster going first in some of those Vayu mirrors, and I had the charge game one, so charge definitely like got me some good mills at various points. I do play the Minecon mainly for going second in the mirror. I don't really love deck dev when I go second, so just a good card against the flips. I maybe activated it like once or twice, but wasn't super overwhelmingly powerful. So I'm honestly a little bit on the fence about Minecon. I still love Vortex, still a Vortex enjoyer. I've talked about it in videos before, but yeah, mainly Amaryllis and Lightsworn, Dragons maybe. Mind Crush, Lightsworn, Dragon Turbo, Gold Sark decks, Double Oppression. So yeah, I mean, not maining it, but you certainly want to side it because it's your best tool in matchups like Zombies or Diva Hero or things like this. But honestly, a lot of my opinions about the deck just being like, Vayu Turbo is so good, and I know I can play it so consistently that a lot of times you just like beat other decks anyway. Like it doesn't matter if you're like somewhat suboptimal, you draw your deck dev and you have to play with your other 5 cards or like whatever the case may be. Like a lot of times like, or like, yeah, like you lose the game 1, but your deck is just so much better than theirs that it's so much easier to win game 2 after you've like adjusted and put in whatever side cards you want. Last thing I'm on 3 Dust, mainly for Blackwing, but any other backer decks, Hero Beat. I didn't play any pure Blackwing, so didn't come up. I mean, I did board against the Hero Beat for sure, but yeah, I mean, that's the deck. I'm obviously happy that I won, and after losing in the finals about a year ago, definitely was hungry for it. And yeah, obviously haters may say what they want. This was a smaller Ultimate Time Wizard than usual, but I'm so happy I won. I'm not gonna downplay my own success, even though obviously I can acknowledge that it was a bit of a silly event. And shout out to Ben and Jake, who also topped, and I play Cube with them pretty often. Ben especially, if you know, you know. And I also, shout out to the Bongo Boys, my team. Phil also won an event the same day. He's the goat. We're the goats. Even Marcus, helped me finalizing the list. And I was just getting destroyed on ladder in the week before the tournament, but I just knew that, at the end of the day, the 20 ladder matches that I might play are such a small fraction of the overall amount of Edison that I've played over my lifetime. And I know how consistent the Vayu deck is. I know how good I can play with the deck. So I just had to like have faith that those losses were what they were, and it wouldn't reflect in my tournament run. And despite having like a rather unlucky round one, most of Swiss, I wouldn't say I drew super broken, a couple lucky turns, but definitely in most of the top 8, top 4 especially, top 4 and top 4 in the finals, I drew super insane and just kind of blew them out. So, that's the deck, and even though quite standard Vayu, I mean, you can see how the deck can adapt just in these slight ways, these flex slots of deck dev, of gores, of, the amount of hamsters, and I hope maybe you find my thoughts on that somewhat interesting. But even if you didn't, I'm the one that won. So thanks, guys, and I hope you enjoyed, and